So for those who don't know, I had this dog called Max. Old Jarlings will know and remember Max. He featured on the cast regularly. Some of the best moments involved Max.
Yeah.
Not true.
He was funny.
Not true. The
There
hump
was-
in the pillow?
There was
You
some
love
good-
that. You love that.
It was really funny. Okay, sorry.
But here's this big, huge-ass golden retriever who I rescued from my granddad, who was in Wales with his wife, our step-nan, I guess. He was, like, really fat, and
Yeah, he was.
He was
really
fucking huge.
he was insanely fat. He wasn't being taken care of. He wasn't being brushed, and anyone who knows golden retrievers know they need to be brushed, or they get all matted and gross.
Yeah.
So some stuff was going on with them, and I had to go down to Wales. This was like in 2017, 2018. And took him home, and I got him slim. I got him a haircut. I gave him a brush. I had him for like over a year.
Well over, right?
Yeah, in a couple years. And we've known Max since he was a little puppy.
Yeah.
Going to visit our granddad or whatever. But basically, we had to give him back to the Welsh side of this situation. Wanted him back, and we're like, yeah, we need him because your step-nan needs him, even though she's like an alcoholic who can barely look after herself. So yeah, that was all like wrapped up, and there was a sad episode that I'd forgotten, where I did like a send-off using like funny Max pictures and had the
That's
up-butt
right.
coconut in there because he
Yeah,
loved
yeah.
that coconut so much. So that sucked having to give him back. But that box was like closed and the ribbon was put on top, and then I stored it away. And then like 2 days ago, my mum calls me and is like, so I just got like an update on Max. He's been given to like because I thought he was dead, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's pretty old now. He'd be like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I figured he would just go back to how he was when I didn't have him. Like not really being taken care of. But yeah, my mum calls me and is like, yeah, I just heard through my granddad, who's like checking in on the whale situation every now and again, that Max had been put in a pound or something
Yeah, to be adopted.
to be adopted. Would I want him if we could get him or find him? So as it turns out, like a couple months ago, he was put into this place without any of us knowing. And yeah, basically it turned out that this family, they like hate our side of the family because we're English, and they're in this really rural part of Wales that like hate English people a lot. So instead of letting Max, instead of doing what's best for the animal, they wanted to take him back, ignore him, not take care of him, and then get rid of him when got too annoying to deal with, instead of just leaving it and washing your hands of it, with there being a clear solution to that anyway. But the spite they have towards my granddad's side of the family, I guess, is so strong that they would prefer to just give him away. And the last update I got was that he has been like adopted by some family. In the last, we don't know how long he was in this place. Could have been like max a couple months. So we've been following up. I sent an email to the place saying like, well, this dog was given to the place without permission. Like, this is so fucked up. So we're just waiting for them to reply to see if we can follow it up or whatever. And yeah, it sucked to find out, I guess.
Yeah. It seems like so...
It's petty.
It's more than petty. It's actually quite large. It's using a life that you
Mhm.
have to look after, and taking that back on that you don't want to do. You don't want to look after this thing. You
Yeah.
obviously don't want it, but I'm going to take on that responsibility just to be an asshole
Yeah.
to these people I
It's
don't
like, what did the dog do? The dog didn't do
Yeah.
anything. Why does the dog have to suffer just because you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
this vengeance?
Against people you barely know.
Yeah, I
and
don't know
never
these
tried to
people.
engage with.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've been there,
It's-
down there a handful of times, barely interacted with them. But they just like hate us for no reason. And
Yeah, it's disgusting behaviour. They're a weird family.
yeah. Well, it's sad because they're like farmers, so you'd hope they'd like respect animals in some form.
No, they're sometimes the
It's more
worst
the
for it.
opposite. Yeah.
But when my granddad would call up asking about like, how's Max doing? They would just lie. They'd be like, oh, he's fine, when he was actually like in a
Yeah,
home.
he wasn't even there.
He wasn't there. They didn't even know where he was,
And they didn't give a shit.
and they didn't care. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's what when I was forced to give him back, they were like, oh, don't worry, we'll send you pictures. We'll give you updates on him, which they never did.
Yeah.
So it just kind of left my mind. But this was like the ribbon coming off the box, and like, oh, yeah, it made me quite upset to imagine that.
I'm just trying to see if there was any like adoption places in Wales who'd actually like posted like.
Yeah,
About-
it'll be, the listing will be gone now if he's already at someone's house.
Sometimes there's like you can like find there's a
Yeah.
record of it at least.
But like, yeah, ideally I'd quite like to have him back.
Yeah, I'd at least like to see him
Uh huh.
again. You know.
Yeah, well, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm curious morally where that winds up sitting. Because if he's been with someone for a couple months now, at least he's been
Yeah.
adopted by someone. And I'm sure whoever adopted them is probably going to put in more care than where he's been the past few years. So that's something. But then also at the same time, if I just adopted a dog and then I was told this story, I would be like, well, do you want him?
Yeah, because it's that's what I'd do as well, because it's like clear this person cares enough about the dog to go out of their way to try and find him after he's been put up for adoption. It's like, you know, you'd want to
Yeah.
give him to them because obviously there's a connection there.
Mm-hmm. But I suppose I should give a little Max update, seeing as he came up and he was mentioned last time. There's not much movement. Just a little bit of internet sleuthing going on where we thought it had stopped at the care place that he was at. And obviously they can't give details of like where dogs have gone and whatnot. But just through a matter of luck and chance and a jarling out there, a jarling somehow found Max, basically. And he's employed. He's a worker now.
The
I'm not going
Jarling
to say
or the
where.
dog?
The dog.
Because my plan is I've put together this letter, this message, to send them with like the whole story.
His resume.
And I was going to attach some pictures and some context. Because my whole thing was like, my moral question was, if this is like just a cute little family and they got kids or whatever, I don't know if I could really ask for anything from them. I'd be happy in knowing that he wound up in a house like that. And I know if I was like a little kid and I just adopted like a dog, it would be like horrible for after a couple months for it to be pulled away, and I wouldn't want to do that to a little kiddie. But seeing as it's like an eatery, an establishment, it's like a business dog.
Yeah, he wears like a suit.
It was like a crazy. All of this is so crazy to me.
Yes.
And then the fact that someone managed to just find this random post on Facebook, and all the dates lined up. There were like pictures, and I was like comparing pictures of him. He's like holding a bone, and I found a picture I'd taken of him of a similar angle, holding like one of his toys, and I was like, yeah, that's him, man, that's him. So I'm gonna send that message. I'm gonna send an email, and just see what they have to say, I guess, because that's where I've been stuck at, is like trying to empathize and imagine like if I got a message. So I've written like a couple pages, I think, just to give the context. That's how silly the story's getting. I was just trying to imagine, like, if I was sent that, what I'd feel, what I'd react.
Yeah. I wonder what's gonna happen.
Because there is a point in there where I do say, like, I would love to have him back, but I could see why you wouldn't want to part with him. And that, I'm at least happy that he's not with this horrible family anymore. Because putting together from the pictures I saw, he looks weird. He looks a bit off because he's clearly been like shaved, which you don't really do to golden retrievers. All his feathers didn't look right. He just looked a bit wrong. So clearly, when he was given to the home, he was probably in bad nick, and they just shaved him and reset him. So we'll see where that goes. With any luck, we'll hear back, at least not get blanked. But yeah, shout out to the Jarling who found him, because we wouldn't have had that chance otherwise, probably. I tweeted about in this episode, this will be the last update I had for Max, the golden retriever, which is now, it's a 3-part story. It's going to wind up being on Jar, a trilogy of Max catch-ups. Do you guys remember what I said last update, 1 week ago? It was
that you had written a letter to the
That's right, I was writing a letter at that time. And I was going to read that letter right after I read this comment from Camo Weed about this. In animal care, you would basically never shave a golden retriever for any reason other than unmanageable abundance of mats and knots. Alex is probably correct about the course of events. Likely after not having his coat maintained for multiple months, Max was handed off to the shelter, who sent him to a professional groomer, externally or in-house, who then made the decision his coat was not salvageable. I would say that if there wasn't a period where Alex intervened and maintained Max's coat and really put him into a good place for his health, he'd be far worse off. Documented on this YouTube channel, you can see Max improve and become more self-confident and clearly show signs of vitality as Alex and the Jar Boys work with him over several months. It's very inspiring, the genuine empathy shown to this animal, and you guys will be with him forever no matter what. Thought that was pretty nice.
That is nice. We miss Max.
Oh, he was such a big love.
I didn't really realize how much I missed him.
Yeah.
Because I'd internalized that, I'd closed that off thinking, like, I'm never going to see him again.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be faced with anything like that again. But yeah, I'm going to read this letter I wrote to them, just so it's documented somewhere too. It's not like... It's quite a downer, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not going to...
lift any spirits,
yeah. I'm sorry to have to send this to you, but I wouldn't be true to my heart if I didn't. It's come to my attention that my granddad and step-nan's dog, Max, has found his way to your friendly... I'm not going to say where.
Yeah, don't dox him.
Your friendly establishment. I am relieved he has finally found a home with owners who are capable of looking after him. I thought it was an odd decision for my elderly grandparents to get a particularly large golden retriever, but his good nature made everyone happy, so it was hard to protest. The problems arose when my step-nan became overcome with her alcohol addiction, routinely indulging herself and not being present enough to look after the dog. My granddad is also too old and fragile to care for a dog of Max's size and requirements. After this mess reached its peak, my mother and I took a traumatic trip to Wales to recover my granddad and bring him to live with our family. My step-nan went into care for her addiction. Obviously there was a huge golden retriever that needed a home. That was where I came into the picture. I was Max's owner for a couple of years, 2017, 2018. When he came into my care, he was obese from being fed working dog food and never taken on walks, and his coat was matted from multiple years of not being brushed or taken to the groomers. Over the years, I was able to slim him down and get his coat in good condition. I've known Max since he was a puppy and have a great bond with him. And up until a couple weeks ago, never thought I'd hear about him again. After a couple years looking after Max, my step-nan's family insisted on his return, as she was in a more stable condition compared to how she was years prior. I have much sympathy for her, alone in her isolated cabin, so I thought it was fair to give Max back, so she'd have some company. Her family told us he would be happy on their farm amongst their other dogs, that they would give us daily updates. they did say daily updates, on how he was doing. After I gave him back, I never saw or heard about him again. 2 weeks ago, as of writing this, my mother called me and informed me that my stepnan had started drinking again and is in a very bad state. She told me that in the time frame of the last few months, Max had been given to a pound to look for a new home. This was done against the wishes of my granddad and stepnan, but my stepnan's family have power of attorney. Somehow, in the mess of their relationship and family drama, this poor dog has been weaponized as a selfish tool to cause harm to different families. They know I would have gladly taken Max if he needed to be rehomed, but my stepnan's family have such a problem with my family that it would never have been an option in their minds, motivated out of sheer spite. I don't care about the family feuds, I only care about Max. My mother reached out to the kennel 2 weeks ago and let them know that Max had been put up for adoption against the will of both his owners. The pound let us know that they would reach out to his owners and explain the situation, but we haven't heard back from them. I took to social media and managed to find this post and discovered that where he was. I'm only contacting you now as we found out that Max was put up for adoption recently due to the fact that my stepnan's family refused to communicate with my granddad. In the unlikely event that they would communicate with my granddad, they would lie. My granddad reached out to ask how Max was doing after he learned his wife was in a nursing home. He was told that Max was very happy with her family when in fact, at this point, he'd already been sent to... Although I'm so incredibly glad and grateful that he has been welcomed into an environment where we cared and loved for, I felt that I had to at least try to reach out and ask if he would consider letting me take Max home to a family he is bonded with and an area he is familiar with. Max is bonded with my mother's dog and he would be living with our 4-year-old Golden, Paisley. I understand if you can't find it in your heart to part with Max, he's so incredibly good-natured, a gentle giant and a special soul. I hope you're taking him to the beach as it's his favorite place. Please do not let me know if there's any chance you... Please do let me know, if there's any chance you would give him back to us. But I want to let you know that if you aren't able to part with him, I understand and won't pursue this any further. I just felt like I had to reach out and try. Attached should be a nice collection of pictures to prove that my story is true, including a portrait I have up in my hallway in his memory. I'm sure that this is a lot to take in, but you would surely do the same if our roles were reversed. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Yeah.
Very well written.
So I wrote that up, sent it on, it was Facebook? Facebook and an email. And for those images that I referenced at the end, I had to upload them to Google Drive. Because they were over a certain size. And when someone requests access to your Google Drive, you get an email. So like an hour after I sent it, I got this email. So I knew they'd like read it. And by this point, it was like 9 p.m. on a Sunday or something. And then I started fearing like, oh, maybe there's... One of the options was that they'd just read it and not reply.
Yeah.
Just blank it. But luckily they didn't blank it. They did reply. And I got that screenshot here. Past all the porn comments. Hi Alex, thanks for reaching out and for filling in a little of Max's history. He's such a well-behaved dog, it is obvious he was well brought up. If you can, could you let me know the exact date of birth for Max and where he was born? His age and looks are remarkably similar to our Golden. Max has settled down very quickly with us. I'll just not read some of that more doxy stuff. Oh, I can't say that. He gets on the beach every day as well as regular walks. That said, anyone from the family who is up this way are welcome to come and visit Max. While Max was in the rescue, the groomers had to shave his fur off as it was so matted and had bits in it. As you'll see from the photos enclosed, it is coming back slowly. I have to say my wife and daughter, and from the photo my mother, love Max to bits and could not let him go now. As well as this, I don't think another radical change to his life would be in his best interests. Best regards. Do you want to see the picture? He looks all fucked up. So he had to be all shaved. He's got to wear like a jacket.
He's got a little coat on.
That is definitely old little Max though.
Yeah. He's so fucking old now as well.
I do think, my own opinion on it is that they are kind of why it is. I don't think Max, like, having gone back to our farm and been neglected again, I think it is good that he's ended up in a place who do love him and cherish him. And I think that's the main important thing, is he's going to be loved.
Yeah.
And I think having to jump around a lot would be not that nice for him, though, but we know that, like, this is probably the best place for him, because it's, we all know him.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact he's out of the bad situation at all is kind of a result. The last thing I messaged them was that I'm so happy he's away from the farm and is finally getting the treatment he deserves. Thank you for hearing me out. Seeing as I wasn't around when my stepman was the one who located him as a puppy and did all the paperwork, I was never entirely sure what his age was, so I'd estimated he was around 6 to 8 when I had him in 2018. I'm fairly sure he was born in the local area. I also found a nice picture of him that I took in 2014 when visiting my grandparents, which you might enjoy. And that's the image of him on a hay bale that I tweeted on the Jar Twitter. Yeah.
It's a very melancholy story.
Do you think you're going to try and, like, go one day and just try and just see him?
Well, yeah. I was talking to someone who was like, let's go see him. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I want to do that.
That's fair.
Because I want to leave with him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that sort of duty of care, like possessive kind of.
Yeah.
Like in nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
Nurturing and possession are kind of like parallel and intertwined.
I do think that, knowing that we basically knew nothing for years, this is the best, like, end of the story for him.
It's a happier ending than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's way nicer.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Michael Morpurgo book I read when I was like 8 or 9, about a greyhound that gets, like, stolen. It's like the same story, but the inverse, where it ends with the dog re-meeting the original owner, but the owner, like, doesn't recognize him.
Oh, I think I might have read that. He likes his dog characters, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he likes writing from, like, the perspective of an animal or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, even though he's in a good place, there's that part of you that's like,
there's something unjust about it, because
it's not where he should be.
Yeah, it's unjust, because if I'd known he was up for adoption at the time he was, I would have immediately contacted them and told them I know this dog, and maybe I would have got, like, a preferential treatment or something.
Yeah, you would have, because it's history of the dog.
Yeah, and I could prove it, and I got loads of, like, documentation of him and the shrine and shit, like.
Yeah.
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 He was a special boy, that boy.
He was.
Well, he still is. Just no longer our boy.
Yeah. It's just a different feeling when it's like when you've kind of returned something to, like, health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, seeing him so bad and watching him get good.
And then knowing that he got bad again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, just shame on that family. Disgusting people.
Yeah, because it's like, who gets hurt in the end? It's the dog and me.
Yeah. Well, and our, like, their treatment of human beings is despicable.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, something about the ignorance and lack of control an animal has under the same circumstances, being abused by them as well, is phenomenal.
It's grim.
I was also like, I was really trying to imagine how I'd react if I received a letter like that. I don't know what you could really it's quite a lot to be dumped. I don't know. I felt like I had to say something at least.
Yeah, I think because at least that is the full stop you kind of want, because you know he's just got a good life.
At least I know now, like, if I wanted a picture of him, I could just, like, ask them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd send me one. Whereas that wasn't the dynamic before.
No.
But he's like clearly with another big Goldens, so it's like that, you know,
Yeah.
they clearly like Goldens and know them. So, you know, he's just be chewing on bones all day and just being happy with people. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted him to be like Paisley's mentor. That was my dream.
Yeah.
She needs some guidance.
Yeah,
I
she
suppose
does.
that has to be Billy now.
Yeah, the guidance Argy gave her was the corruption.
Yeah.
Just like ruined her.